Morning, officer.
Maybe this is the pot calling the kettle black. This guy thinks he's a genius and he's a moron.
Oh, this is live.
Think of like the dumbest cave troll let you know.
You looked right at me when you said that.
You're not the dumbest.
Here are the facts as I see them.
October 4th, 2022. Welcome to the Bandit Radio Hour. From the heartland of Florida that has been ravaged by the damned Hurricane Ian and all of its ilk of floodwaters to follow, I am sitting here as the Bandit, your host, and I'm with my co-host, Merce, who had to evade local law enforcement in order to get here. How's it going, Merce?
I'm tired of running.
Solid point. It's all for different reasons. How was the ride over?
It was a little bit eventful. Supposedly the highway was supposed to be open.
The main bridge to get across town, because our town, like I've always suggested, was finally divided in half. Just at a different point than I would have picked. It was on the river because of all the flooding.
Well, apparently it was open for a few hours and they closed it and I couldn't get through. But then
What teases?
Yeah.
What dirty teases?
I was like a mile away, and so then I had to drive about an hour round trip, like through all the back roads to cut across and get through to finally make it. I'm here.
And what, between like the county north of us, which is Hardy, and the county south of us, which is Charlotte, y'all people playing geography at home, y'all should be able to figure out where we're at pretty soon. But what, there's like normally 6 to 7 bridges that cross this river, would you say, between all of them, if you include 66, 64,
Oh yeah, easily.
Brownsville.
Right now there's one.
Yeah.
Other than all the way down in Charlotte, I guess 41 and 75's open.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it. And now in our county, finally one of them has been opened, and well, 2 of them have, but one of them's kind of regulated, which y'all know we don't like that. But maybe they should make sure the bridges are good before people cross them. But yeah, people, we had to go through hell and high water, quite literally, to bring y'all this podcast.
It's been a week.
Yes, it has, and I don't know if I said it in the middle of the last show or immediately afterwards, but several people have reminded me of how it was just going to be a little bit of wind and water, and that everyone was freaking out, and it's just a Florida thing. These hurricanes come and go, and we'll be fine. For the record, I was wrong. I was wrong about a few of those facts. It was wind and water. That part was accurate. Rest of it, and the amount of it, not so much. Not so much at all. So Merce, all right, Merce was on the up and up. He kind of had a good feeling, Mr. Meteorology hobbyist. When did you first know it was going to be bad? How'd you know this was going to be different? Because you were up, like you were ringing the alarm bells.
We were already flooded.
Yeah.
Like there was already standing water everywhere. That's when I knew it was going to be bad.
Just from that alone, there was nothing about the storm coming up that...
I mean, yeah, it was going to suck, but I just knew that we were already completely flooded.
Yeah.
The river was already out of its banks. I knew there was no way this was going to end well.
Yeah, when I was first saying to Merce, like, it's not going to be a big deal. I remember one of your replies was, everything's wet and the roots of the oak trees are barely holding on to mud right now. And I was like, he kind of has a point. But yeah, it's like a category 4. But everyone knows when these things actually get on land and get to Arcadia, they kind of filter out a little bit. And unless it has the one rare chance of going up the Charlotte Harbor. Like Charlie.
It navigated the harbor better than most boaters.
Yeah, yes, it's better than we did the last time we went. Got further at least.
Touche.
Yeah, we're most boaters. But no, we got our asses wrecked by Ian.
For about a solid 6 or 7 hours, I would say, just right in the eye wall, just beat the crap out of us.
So Merce knew it was going to be bad about 2 or 3 days before it actually hit us. I finally knew it was going to be bad about 2 or 3 hours into the eye wall. Just going, it's not moving.
Well, it was more of, I knew it was going to be bad if it hit us. I was still really hoping it was going to go to Tampa or north like they were saying.
Like we always
But
hope.
when the cone wasn't moving. I was like, no, I've seen this scenario play out too many times before. It's going to just power shank.
And me, I just went with my natural assumption of the weatherman is always wrong. So if it says it's coming for me, I have nothing to worry about, and vice versa. But weatherman was right. Like one of my distant relatives that lives in this town said, they heard the local weatherman. Was it Paul Delgado? Is he a weatherman?
Yes.
Did I get that name right? Yeah. Okay. Wow. Proud of my memory on that one. But he said, this is going to be a once in many lifetimes event. And my relative said, I'm going to start getting prepped.
I'm about over these once in a lifetime events.
We've lived. This is the second. If this flood was worse than anything in the past 500 years, according to the geological scale, this will be the second one that I've lived through after living through one in Texas.
If a third one happens, it's you, and we're going to take you out and just beat you with rocks.
Just send me to Russia. It'll wreck their whole country, and this whole war will be over. No, I'm not getting into that. Not right now. Later. Much later. This scary stuff later. We'll talk about the scary stuff that already passed, at least, for the most part. But, yeah, no, whenever because, normally when a hurricane hits us, the eye wall, actually getting the brunt of it, you'll get typically an hour or two, then you get the eye.
Yeah, Charlie, I think the winds were a little worse.
It was like 45 minutes of an eye wall, but it was...
Yeah, I went through the eye. So it was like,
yeah, me too.
Like 45 minutes and like a little quick break, and then like
45 minutes.
It was probably good, like the worst was probably like a good 2 or 3 hours.
Most hurricanes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, this thing, it was like, one side of me, you're going to get it for 5 hours. And while I'm turning, I'm going to sit right on you and ravage
it.
It
got bad at I would say around like 4-ish. And I can still remember, because it didn't blow out one of the windows.
4 p.m.,
Because I stayed at my dad's. I wasn't going to ride it out in the camper, which would have been epic, but I didn't think I would have lived.
And his camper came away unscathed.
Yeah.
We're all a little pissed about it, except for him. So
I'm impressed. I didn't have my hopes of it still being there as bad as it was.
It held up.
Anyways, it blew a window out at my dad's, and so I had to brace against the
That's
storm
right.
with a street sign.
That's right.
The wind and rain, because there's no way to go outside and fix it. So I stayed braced against the street sign for hours. I literally fell asleep, laid back, braced up against it with my feet against it. And it was 1:30 in the morning, and the storm is still just kicking butt.
I think I called you at 11:30 or something like that, and I was like, "How are y'all doing?" And I could literally hear the wind howling on your phone, "I'm holding a street sign, and I'm so sleepy."
It was literally man versus storm. My dad, he done went to bed, and they were like, "Oh, keep the," and it was in my room, of course, So in my mind, oh God, my camper's in Oz, and my one bedroom, my stuff at my dad's is gonna get flooded too.
Well, the thing that blew my mind was afterwards. No, that blew my ass, not my mind. And dude, the sad thing during it, this was at 6 or 7 o'clock in the afternoon. Maybe 5 or 6ish. It's really starting to get bad, and we look out at our dog pen that we can see from our kitchen windows. And they got a pump shed house that they can go in that we can put a heater or a fan or something in. It's like a little house. They got cover. And we see our one dog walk out of the house, walk into his little front yard, and just sit. And while the worst of Ian is crashing down around him. And I look at my mom, I go, look at what Amos is doing. Why is he sitting in the front yard? And she goes, because it must be that terrible inside their dog house. I run out in the middle of it, swing open the gate. Amos comes bolting out. The other annoying new dog comes busting out. I'm like, damn it, you're still alive. And our favorite dog, Turkey, I go, come on, Turkey. And nothing. And then he finally comes waddling out. He was asleep in there the whole time. And there's a literal river not a river because that's big, but a new creek cutting through their house. That they were laying in, sleeping in. So we got them inside. And me and Lily and my mom rode it out till 12 o'clock. And the wind started kind of calming down a little. It wasn't a freight train the entire time. It was a freight train half the time or something like that. And I looked at Lily and my daughter, and I was like, well, we're going to sleep. If we wake up and we're wet, we know we need to move. And we went to sleep and we woke up. And in the morning, there was a calmness.
And it was cold.
It was very... Dude, this morning it was cold, too.
Yeah, which that was nice for not having, power. And,
It's the opposite of Charlie
oh, it was 100 degrees and just humid.
and 1,000% humidity. But no, this has been like, I hate how fall got here, but I'm happy it is here.
Yeah, there was no fall leaves. It was just fall trees.
Fall trees and fall buildings and fall. Yeah. But amazingly, all these old cracker houses that you see in the middle of pastures, missing a little bit of tin.
My great-grandfather's that's like over 100 years old. Fine.
Yep.
Fine.
And my dad said in Palmetto he saw a building made out of concrete that lost 3 walls and the roof caved in on the top of it. And I'm like, what they do? Use super glue with the nails in the old days?
Probably big old iron nails. And you gotta remember, they're like using like old pine trees.
True.
That are like a lot not fast growing or just hardy pine.
No, but we barely, compared to like places like Fort Myers, we just got a little bit of a wallop. We got some tin missing off of our barn and a tree smashed through our steer pens. But even luckily, walking around one of our cattle properties, we only lost like 1 calf out of 500 total at that property. So that one made out good. But, and after the storm, you know, we rode around, looked around at the damage, and there was damage. Some poor bastards lost it all. Some people got swatted. But, no, our home place came out pretty good. Some felled trees that we had to clean up, a couple of fence lines smashed down. On our property, there is some downed fences, but nothing I just couldn't jerry-rig back together and make it stand up right and keep the cows in. We had some neighbors that had like 100 cows on the road that they had to get back in, and I would have helped, but I was busy making sure ours didn't get out. But yeah, like damage. Well, I know your trailer came out fine, and what your dad's house just got the one through the window.
Yeah, one broken window, and there's a couple power poles snapped in half, and we had some fences down too from the water rushing through different places, but everything we kind of got patched back together for the most part.
This, like the wind damage, it was like a straight freight train with rain behind it. But
I still think Charlie was stronger because I remember there being no leaves on the trees after Charlie, and thinking that was so creepy.
yeah, at least all the trees have leaves on the southwest corner
Yeah.
of them is where all their leaves are left. Everywhere else they're stripped off, but not like we said it before the podcast. But I thought my mom summed it up really good. Like Charlie had something like over 100 tornadoes in it because it was just one little tiny fast ball of horrible destruction. Whereas I keep wanting to say Ian was one gigantic tornado. And yeah, and the eye wall just decided to sit its fat ass right on us forever. Sorry people, I'm getting distracted. I'm fighting a spider web that somehow got on my face while I'm sitting here. But, so yeah, we rode around like there was some... You know, people had to, where there was roads that went through heavy woods, people like had to get front end loaders and chainsaws and clear the way. But the first day we drove into town, we drove back, we drove out and checked on our calves on the south side of the county.
You get across before the river road.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, all of that. That's what I'm getting at. We were like, oh man, the winds. You know, we think Charlie was worse. This was bad, but we're okay. And we drove back across the river. And we didn't have power, like no duh, but I still had my daughter with me, and her mom was really insistent, like, "Hey, please let me come up and get her out of there until you get power and schools open up." And I was kind of hesitant, but I was like, you know, if it'll ease your mind, it'll help her not be bored without power, sure. And her mom came up, and like I said, we drove into town earlier that day, and there was no water on the bridge at all. There was a little bit of water down at 70-72, and drove in town, came back, then my daughter's mom came up to get my daughter, and she said, "Hey, there's some like water in town and on the bridge. Like, am I able to drive my car through it?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, a little bit of water on your tires. You'll be fine." We hit a couple of puddles on the way. She's like, just have your mom meet me if that's okay. I don't want to cross this. And I go, okay. Within 2 hours of that, they shut down the roads because the river started rising.
For anybody wondering what he's talking about, go to our Twitter at Bandit Radio Hour or our Instagram, and you can actually see the photos from taken with drones of the intersection completely underwater.
Completely, and the river just started. It started coming out of the banks and smash on everything.
Yeah, and this isn't just some little back road. This is a main highway through Florida.
This is probably the number one highway to get from the southwest coast to the southeast coast, like 70. It goes through Heartland, Florida, and that shut down until today, until this afternoon, and Merce got here.
And they still wouldn't let me across it.
Yeah, he had to find a different way, which he found. Y'all don't worry about it. We'll keep that to ourselves. Unless we mentioned it earlier, I can't remember.
I had to get a P-row and paddle across.
Yes, yeah. And it sucked because, hey, one thing I really want to brag on with like this flood and everything coming in, the amount of volunteers that have come down, and organizations and associations that have
just in the community.
Yeah, people going around making sure that everyone's all right, helping each other out. However, since we're on the west side of the river, away from town, all the supplies and all the help stayed on the other side of the river, and we're just stranded out here.
Yeah. I did see they just had a chain of just airboaters just running supplies and people back and forth.
That's great. We've gotten so many phone calls from people willing to help. There are cowboys that have come from North Carolina, and they're just calling different ranchers on the Department of Agriculture's list, like, hey, do you need help? We'll come help you with cows. We'll come help you with fence. We'll come help you with anything. And it's awesome. And of course, the little libertarian in me is like, all this swift response from private individuals just wanting to help. They're here fast and quick, and there's no regulations on how they can help us. They just are.
And they didn't come in Priuses or electric cars.
No, they did not. they're coming in dualies, and they are guzzling
bringing gas generators,
yep.
and chainsaws,
and man, the help has been astounding. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Back to the flood. I really think the flooding is worse.
It scared me in Halo.
True, very true. In Halo, that's one of the scariest gaming moments ever, from where you go from fighting aliens to fighting zombie aliens that infect your brain. But
and we were like probably 10 at the time.
More on that rabbit hole later. I do want to talk about that rabbit hole, though. It's a good one. But no, the flooding in DeSoto and in Mayaca and in everywhere, it's bad. There's people that lost all their shit.
Yeah, where I was, I couldn't go north to the next town up because Highway 17, another major highway, Charlie Creek, had completely flooded across it.
From my house, there used to be, like, I'm just spitballing here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There used to be 8 different ways to go to like 5 different towns. Now, until just recently when they opened that bridge, there was one road leading to one town an hour away.
Well, it's like I ran into one of the guys, ranchers there at the livestock market.
Yeah.
It took him like 2.5 or 3 hours to get there because he had to like zigzag and go like 100 miles around.
This should have been a 15-minute drive for the guy.
Yeah.
If all the roads were working and how it's supposed to be. But yeah, it's turned into 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I was talking to you later. I was like, wait, how did he get?
Yeah, I was like, hey, he's on my side of the river. What's he doing on your side? And this family, they wouldn't. Actually, this family, I'm not going to mention them, but the locals will probably know who I'm talking about. These badasses had a branch of the Horse Creek create a new pathway for the creek through their driveway. And when I say their driveway, like, it's practically a dirt road that's miles long. And it ate like a 15-foot wide gap and like 10-foot deep. Through, like, you can't even get a tractor across it. And what they do, Merce, they got telephone poles.
They built a bridge out of telephone poles.
Yeah, they got a backhoe and built their own bridge in order to get across town. Not across the river, but across their little runoff. And you're hearing all kinds of stories like that. One of my
boy can't survive.
One of my distant cousins that is a deputy sheriff, and he is one of the most shining examples of like the good, awesome local deputy. He has a yard full of oak trees, and I guess they all like fell in around him where he could like barely open a door. and he lives on like 4 or 5 acres or something like that. Nothing but oak trees, like dense woods. And it took him 2 days with a chainsaw to cut his way out in order to get his Jeep out. And then he made it to the road. And then he drove. His road goes like north and south. And he turned south on the road and drove and saw that it was washed out. So he turned around, drove to the north, and saw it was washed out that way. And I'm like, oh, you fought so hard just to realize you're still stranded. How terrible. But the next day he could get out. But dude that lives by himself, by the way. One of these old-timers that just know their stuff. But yeah, we've seen it with people just stopping by to help. People bringing us 150 damn eggs when we don't even need eggs, but we made sure to give them out to other people. And it's really awesome to see that response. And my selfish bandit mind goes like, thank y'all so much for the help, and we appreciate it, but I want to know, where in the hell do you find the time and money to do this? Because every time I hear about tornadoes hitting Kansas, my first thought isn't let me load up all my shit and go to Kansas for free out of the goodness of my heart and wait. Like, God bless these people, because
There's some people are just better than we are.
well, they just are. I'd like to think, because I'm a poor country boy, if I ever have the means and time, I'd love to go do that for people. But there's also a part of my brain that's saying, like, even if you were a millionaire and had a year off, you'd probably stay home.
Yeah, so no, big thanks to all the linemen, first responders, people just from everywhere. Like, there's like linemen from Oklahoma. I mean,
let me tell you this. No, like, yes, they're they're up there in most importance. Thank you, linemen. Thank you, first responders that are going in and saving people. Thank you, like Mercer's talking about, linemen encountering lines, just laying down in water that can fry them if they step in the wrong puddle. Just a personal side note. I want to thank the Taco Bell and Lakewood Ranch for being open the day after the hurricane. I needed that. I needed that bad.
to put it in context, the bandit had to make a supply run for his family, and apparently stumbled upon civilization, went all the way to the other coast, and rather than getting rushing back or bringing stuff to other people and sharing.
Hang on. I made sure I got diesel and gas first, but I did pass the Taco Bell and made a mental note that I will be back for you because I see lights on. Continue. I'm sorry.
And proceeds to get Taco Bell, and then again, not share with anybody, but calls me to tell me of his bounty and what he has found as I'm eating like Vienna sausages off my tailgate while chainsawing a tree.
And by the way, like, if you are on the other side of the river from us, like, you do have the main town that's completely devastated and out of power, and all the towns you have access to are devastated and out of power. And I'm like, I can run 45 minutes away to where they have electricity in Taco Bell. So that was nice. But it is a city, and, like, I'll tell you, the one thing that sucked was we needed fence posts, and we couldn't find any, and all the places we would normally go for fence posts are across that damn river or blocked off from water or whatever. And let me tell you, it was I felt like an artist with my creative endeavor on how I was going to keep cows inside these damn pastures with 2 fence posts. Had all the wire I could ever need. Like that, wire and staples galore. But let me tell you something. I was sitting there stabbing sticks in the ground and throwing them into, like, crevices and stuff, just going, if I was a cow, I wouldn't go through that, and going on my merry way. But regardless, aside from that side rant, thank you for everybody doing their part. The people that are bringing power to everybody, internet to everybody. The people that aren't doing their jobs, like one of my brothers, I got 2 brothers. One's a power line guy, and he's doing his thing right now. The other one's got a job that I wouldn't, like, put it on the high priority of life essentials to make civilization work. But he's got a good job, and he's like, hey, I'm putting this on pause, and I'm running gas to anyone that needs it, diesel, propane for home generators that, like, run off of gas and stuff like that. And I got to tell you, on another note, it's been great just to have even people that couldn't make it across the river, like getting my mom's generator to work for her house. Another guy was like, hey, I'm going to take 30 minutes and talk to you on the phone since I can't make it to you and make sure this thing works right for your mom because I like her. She's a nice lady. And I'm like, oh, thank you, sir. It's sure nice of you. A whole bunch of stuff like that has been awesome. Also, just kind of humorous, I should have taken a picture of it and thrown it up on the Twitter. Like, so far, 12 of our cows have ended up at the fire station off of 72, just sitting in their yard, like, hey, we know this is close to home and it's high ground. Can you please let us in? And so, twice, it hasn't been like 15 cows at once. Like, first it was 7, and I'd sneak by them, cut a fence, let them go in, fix the fence. Then I came back, and it was like, well, I guess it's like 9 total, because it was 2 more. And I cut the fence, and they didn't want to go in, but they did want to charge me. So I used that to my advantage accidentally, and it charged me through the fence, and it ran inside the property, and I was able to fix it afterwards. But so it was a success so far. And actually, tomorrow morning, I'm waking up at 5:30 till we got like, I don't know, what might be 15 more cows on another guy's property we got to go get. So I'm doing the original, like, as Merce put it earlier, I'm doing the original cow hunting. I hope it goes good. I just hope the cows ain't scared pissless and want to run through every fence they see. And if I was them, I'd probably want to, but we'll find out. Yeah, so we're sitting here. The flooding is finally going down. Merce, what would you say is like one of the craziest things you found in this past week?
Okay, so I got these kind of neighbors that have all these animals.
Oh, God, does he?
And they've got, anyways, there's some peacocks that are always on.
Hang on. Think of Tiger King, but instead of tigers, it's ducks and annoying shit. But
it's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the other end road, they have these peacocks that are always running around.
Of course they have annoying ass peacocks.
Well, after the storm, all the peacocks' big, beautiful tail feathers are gone.
Good.
From all the wind.
We are anti-peacock on this podcast.
It literally blew all their tails off, which I know they shed them in the fall. But Ian went ahead and just ripped them all out. They're all wandering around tailless.
Good. They're just pretty chickens now. Yeah. Velvety chickens. I wonder, do peacocks taste good?
I don't know.
They look like they would, kind of like a turkey. They either taste really good or really bad. Just based on their colors.
I'm intrigued.
I'm racist.
So, is it just peacocks or all birds of paradise you're against?
I only eat dove. Only white birds. No, actually, no. I'm not that bad. I only eat food prepared by Chick-fil-A. That's how I do it. That's how racist with my poultry I am.
When I was a little kid at KFC, I only wanted the dark meat.
Dude.
Like the drumstick or the...
Totally unrelated note. I smoked my first cigarette in my life outside of a KFC that used to be in Arcadia. It was a Marlboro Light. Bummed it off of my friend driving a white F-150. And I remember sitting in the parking lot and I inhaled like I didn't even... I think I had gotten drags of a cigarette before this. This is the first time I really knew how to inhale and get it in my lungs and get the nicotine. I smoked like half of it, and I remember being high as a kite, like spacey. And I go, man, like almost like you'd think weed would affect somebody. And I look at my friend, I'm like, let's go get some KFC. And we walk inside, and we walk up to the counter, and I go to say my first words, and I let out what is to this day the loudest damn fart of my life. Like, dude, that cigarette and nicotine loosened me up, like, perfectly where I wasn't even aware. And, dude, it was a comically obnoxious fart. So loud.
The colonel
So,
like that.
and it's like nothing but a black staff working there, like ghetto. God bless them. They worked at a really hard place for a while. But... not only the lady in front of me stops what she's doing, the fry cook in the back goes, the hell was that? And the lady at the register like, you better fix yourself, honey. And I'm like, I am so sorry, fellow Arcadian ghetto people. I will go to the bathroom and make sure I didn't just shit my pants, recollect myself, and come back in 10 minutes. I did and ordered my food.
Did you come back? I don't think I would have. I
Dude,
would have
no,
just leave.
I came back. They loved me. They were like, "Thank you for giving us a fun day." But like, I was like bashful as hell, and I'm like,
They still probably talk about you.
No,
like,
dude, I'll never forget that fry cook. Just like leaning, it was something out of the movie. Like I saw him lean back and go, "The hell was that?" And I was like, "Oh God, that was me that caused the
like
ruckus."
Friday was like, damn.
No, it was more than that. It was yep. I still smoke cigarettes to this day. That's what I learned. But moving from racist beards and hurricanes into more current events. Outside of Florida and the Southeast getting hit by one of the worst natural disasters. Is it one of the worst natural disasters to hit? Like I know
it's going to be up there.
Yeah.
But I mean, like
I know
we
the
talked about
hurricane
in the 20s.
in Okeechobee, it killed. That has the highest death toll for hurricanes, but most part it's due to.
And then Andrew was terrible, so I don't know really where this one's going to rank because they're saying the death tolls like in the 70s, like 80.
Oh, well,
lots of people down there saying there's way more dead people than that.
Yeah, that's actually a big debate, I guess, locally and on the like little Twitter box and the local news stations and stuff. Is what? Give us the full scoop as you understood it, because you broke it to me.
Well, from what I was just like looking at on Twitter and different things, and it's kind of what I even heard from some other people. And it's terrible that people lost their lives and things like that. But a lot of people are saying it's way worse down there than the news is letting on. Like I've heard some people like they're with first responders saying that they've run out of places to put the bodies.
Now here's where I run into a problem with this. Like I'm not saying you're wrong, but I would think my natural assumption would be for the news to like exaggerate the number of bodies more so than downplay. I mean, in like every other case, it's like if it bleeds, it leads.
My thought was but the news got the location of the hurricane so wrong.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Another thing they were talking about in the news is I thought was weird is they were trying to justify. It's like, well, you got to remember the certain National Hurricane Center. When they do the autopsies, that they're the ones that rule was this caused by the hurricane or did they crash? So it's a weird.
It's almost like a really subjective scale they put it on. Like, did you die from the hurricane wind or did you die from a tree falling when you were cleaning it up?
Yeah, it sounds odd because I said the people on Twitter, they're like, we literally saw more bodies than that driving around, or I helped a friend pull them out of a canal, and it's just kind of. It sounds. I mean, I can think this is hearsay and stuff like that. But
right.
From the things I've heard through the grapevine, it sounds a lot worse. And people are like very adamantly vocal about it. It's not just like one guy with a silver hat.
Yeah, like it was carrying some weight. Like you were finding it on like what you went to just like the news Twitter.
I saw Wink News was having to like their studio got flooded, and so they were having to like record in like the back of a trailer or something.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me. And hang on, side note. Yo, this might be the only time you ever hear me say this. What badass news people at the very minimum, like their studio is destroyed and what, like they're pretty much doing.
They're standing there in front of microphones and they've got like a dry erase board they're holding up with the 7-day forecast they've drawn, like because they can't do graphics and.
That's great.
And so I just went to Twitter to look them up to see what other people were saying about them, and that's why I found the rabbit hole of people like, why aren't you telling the truth about the dead down here?
Ow. And I mean, we're going to try, guys, this is a local disaster to my community. In this instance, I will be respectful to the dead because they're alive. People might kick my ass for good reason. But aside from that, I don't know what to make of that. I don't
either. I don't know what the agenda there, one way or the other.
That's
is.
what I'm trying to like.
They're just trying to like not let people freak out.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to keep some.
Because I tell you,
they don't want people rushing back as much. I don't know.
I don't know. But speaking of news spinning things in odd directions, I guess the Nord Pipeline was attacked while we've been busy dealing with Armageddon down here in Florida. Which, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, like I wasn't before a week ago, the Nord Pipeline is pretty much the main natural gas pipeline from Russia to Germany, and it is the main way to power Germany. But since NATO's at war with Russia, Well, no, not even since then. What? It just got sabotaged. It got exploded, right, Merce?
It just out of nowhere underneath the ocean went kablooey.
Convenient.
Or unless BP put it in.
Yeah, they're so sorry. But no, and what you were telling me, like, what it was on a, was it CNN on the news reporter
there was
went
someone
off?
being interviewed by CNN, and he's like, he basically just goes ahead and says, he's like, pretty sure like it was the United States that did it. And they're like, whoa, like, you can't be saying that. He's like, well, if you look at, like, the flight records, our helicopters were spending a lot of time in that region. He goes on to list a whole lot of things that CNN's like rapidly trying to brush you.
Like, shut up, stop talking.
You're making too much sense, be quiet.
Cut to Pfizer commercial. I know we're not going down that rabbit hole yet. Put it on the back burner for later. We're cooking that rice right now. We're getting on the pork chops. Main dish, Russia. So yeah, Nord Pipeline got sabotaged. There's a lot of it spilling out into the, what is it, the Baltic Sea? It's one of those Caspian.
It's one of them cold ones.
Yep. I think it's got salt in it. But no, and the thing is, this is the main supply of power for Germany, and this just happens to take place right before the winter. Germany's notorious for having terrible ones, and the quote I heard was that firewood is going to be the new gold in Germany. And now here's like,
the Netherlands are going to make a killing. With all the wooden shoes.
You son of a bitch.
Baby, burn the Reeboks.
They're not going to make a killing. They're going to stomp the competition with their
better.
wooden shoes. But
I didn't use that.
But no, it's, you know, I really don't think a lot of these things have a cartoonishly simple explanation. There's so many different factors and so many different moving parts. Like I said a couple episodes ago or during my interview, like to even like a state government, let alone a national government or even a military branch of that or the CIA or anything, there's so many moving parts. However, taking that reality and putting it to the side, like what Robbie Bernstein said, this is really like a bad guy from a bad James Bond movie is sitting around making things happen. Like, oh, how can I get NATO and Russia to go to war with each other? I'll sabotage the pipeline that gets them business with each other. Like, you know, that's almost like a literal real life example. One of the things.
That's your evil voice. That's what you're going with,
dude. I got this natural voice going. Just I didn't even realize I did the evil voice, but yes, that was my terrible evil voice. I'll take a bow and I'll walk off stage exit left. But no, like. First of all, like Dave Smith said, Russia and Germany have gone to war with each other twice in the 20th century, and it ended up being some of the worst shit ever recorded in human history.
And winter.
Yes. But you know what, like, keeps countries from going to war with each other? Trade. When one of them, like, has gas, and the other one, like, has money. And they trade that, and they don't want to piss each other off because they both have something the other one wants. That's why I'm like cool with Japan making our shit. As long as we're buying stuff from them keeping them little hands busy, we ain't gonna nuke them anytime soon.
Yeah, they're not good when they're angry.
We like Toyotas. Both of those statements are true. But no, like, so, I don't know. Everything happening with Russia, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Putin's a good guy or anything like that, but I think he's a rational guy. I think he's a guy acting in his own self-interest. And any of these scenarios, you just flip the shoe on the other foot and pretend some country's doing it to America. We whip out every single missile we have and take them out. You know, like if China was was aggressively expanding their military into Mexico and Canada, America might have a little bit of a problem with that. And on another note, Merce, how has America, like, expanded itself into foreign markets and territories over the past 70 years?
Illegally?
Well, mostly, yes. Some of it's war crimes, but more...
They're only war crimes if somebody else does it to us.
True. true. Except, who's the dude? Oh, I bet you know this off the top of your head. The Vietnam guy that was flying the helicopter and saw them executing civilians. You don't know what I'm talking about?
I mean, the Full Metal Jacket
Oh,
scene.
no. This is like a real life thing. Oh,
Get
God.
some.
Someone's going to be screaming at the radio. Corporal McIvy, I want to say. That's somewhere in the back of my head, but that might be wrong. No, he was a helicopter pilot. And he was coming into like a village. I think he was bringing in supplies for like the Marines. And he saw them all lining up civilians like to execute them. And he was like, "Oh, no, you don't. No, y'all don't." And they're like, "Oh, what are you going to do about it?" He's like, "I will mow down each and every one of y'all with my Apache or whatever the hell it is if y'all shoot one more civilian." And he got court-martialed. But he stopped them from killing any more civilians. And later on, he initially got dishonorably discharged. But then, like 30 years later, they're like, "I guess you did a good thing." But
Are bad.
But what I was getting at with that before the side ran about McIvy or whatever his name is, when the U.S. expands into new markets, we do it militarily. We bomb the living shit out of you, then bribe a certain local tribe or government to take
That's
over.
what I'm saying. If we did do the pipeline, that's like one of the least terrible things.
Now, like, here's my question. China, that is an evil government that I don't support, that are definitely the bad guys, quote unquote. Merce, how do they get into foreign markets?
They just buy their way in.
They invest.
Yeah.
They
buy
like
farmland.
They buy farmland, they buy factories, like, hey, we're gonna like support y'all and give y'all jobs. Don't get me wrong, they're not doing it out of the
They're
goodness of their
industrious people.
like they're not doing it out of the goodness of their commie hearts. No one does. But I'm joking, good-hearted commies that might listen to this.
Yeah, he's joking, because commies don't have hearts.
No, they're souls. Like nope.
They're
nope.
red, like gingers.
Yes. Hey, coincidence or God's sign? I don't know. Leave it up to the viewer. But no, like that's a smart way to do it, to not have the world pissed off at you and wanting to resist your movements. Like, dude, Russia and China teaming up, like I'm kind of hearing about. It's bad for America and the federal government empire, but bad for Americans too, I think, if a hot war pops off. But from China and Russia's perspective, can you think of a move that makes more sense than that?
No, I mean, Russia's already agreed to basically build a secondary pipeline that would be like equivalent to the Nord Stream and send it to China already. So,
And I mean, what is the United States offering the world besides we're an empire that does empire things?
Joe Biden walking around lost.
Oh God. What were you telling me before the podcast? What number is this now that he's?
Oh, it was like twice in a week or a weekend that he's like wandered off stage, or they've not been able to get him to go the right direction.
Is it the same Joe Biden?
I don't even know.
He
doesn't even know.
No, it's guys, it's getting spooky.
I said, regardless of how you feel politically, you can't tell me that's a sane or competent person up there.
Well, I
That was
would.
my granddad. He'd be in a home.
Going by what I true, but going by what I've at least been seeing in the Twitter world, it seems like a lot of the paying attention to ratio and support like that. Apparently, people are losing followers left and right today because I guess a lot of people are leaving because Elon Musk is coming on.
Not coming on, just owning.
Owning it, buying it. It's his. It's seemingly his within this week. Or is it all the bots are leaving? Like literally what we thought were non-playable characters, like you said a couple episodes ago, are the robots. And yeah, dude, it seems like a lot of them are scrubbing up and leaving before.
Which I still don't get, because originally didn't they all love Elon Musk? It feels like so many people have turned against him, and I guess I don't really see when that happened.
Dude, I don't know. I keep playing back and forth in my mind whether he's controlled opposition or not. My grand conspiracy theory.
I think he's just got a slight touch off. He's got just enough where I think he's just him, and he could really care less how it goes either way, because now he's got the money and the knowledge to do whatever the hell he wants.
I thought he was controlled opposition until I heard him say one thing. And either he's brilliant controlled opposition, or he's just not that. I think he was talking to like a British news. It wasn't the what the hell's their British Broadcasting Network? It's not BBN.
BBC.
BBC. There you go. Yeah, I knew I had the acronym in there somewhere. But he was talking to them, and they're like, "Well, Elon, aren't you like concerned about like if a company gets too big that the government can't regulate them?" And he's just like whiffing off the top of his head in his kind of slightly autistic way. He goes like, "Well, you know, what is the government if it's not just a giant corporation that is completely unregulated?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, you said the thing. You said the thing. That's the thing. That's what it is. It is a giant unregulated corporation that regulates everything else, or it's just a giant mafia pretending to be a human rights organization, however you want to look at it."
And the U.S. corporation's doing terrible because I also saw today that for the first time we are now $31 trillion in debt. We set a new high. We did it, Joe.
Man,
And it's not even his fault. It's just in general.
and you know, like, if I didn't have these recordings that I've listened to of the World Economic Forum explicitly saying they're going to make it harder to own things and they're going to make it more difficult to be a free and self-reliant individual, because that's not a part of the plan, quote unquote. It's like, dude, the more stuff you see unfolding around us, aside from natural disasters, but it's like, holy shit, it is getting harder to own things the deeper we go into debt. And hey, hang on that 31 trillion in debt. I don't have I ever broke down on the show the 5-year-old explanation for how the Federal Reserve works?
No.
Okay, I find like, dude, this was something I think I've even said in the early episodes. I believed this mostly on faith, but honestly, Donald Trump showed me how the Federal Reserve worked. And all you Trumpers out there, don't get excited. This ain't a great thing. so put your flag down, get ready, get your pitchfork. So, you know, when COVID hit, Trump passed some of the biggest spending bills in history. Now, whether it's his fault or Congress's or doing what he had to do.
I'll lean on Congress because he literally did want to send just money. Congress packed a whole bunch of other crap in with it.
Yeah. He signed it in.
Yeah.
But anyways, if it wasn't for the Federal Reserve, the only way that bill could have been passed would be for them to directly tax us in some kind of way. In some kind of like, hey, here's the new tax, we're going to raise money in order to spend.
I still blame Nixon, but...
True, I mean, it's taken us off the gold standard, but the Federal Reserve is able to set interest rates where they absorb that blow for right now, and we pay for it later as our money becomes more worthless. Now, don't get me wrong, Trump is not the first president to spend a shitload of money. He's just, if anything else, he just kept business going as usual. But we've been doing this for generations now. It's all catching up. And that's why all the arms packages I see sent to Ukraine or Israel that never gets brought up, or any of these things, we're on a car headed towards a cliff, and they're just smashing down the accelerator harder and harder. And
all they're trying to do is convert the car from gas to electric.
Dude. And there's so many things wrong with that. And like, I'm all down with new innovations, and I want you to make it cheaper for me to move. That's ultimately what I'm about. And I think the better we get at moving things for less energy, like take the green or the fossil fuels, take all that out of it. What's all this debate about? How do we move from point A to point B using as little energy and most efficiently as possible? Anybody, even a
Catapult. You're not going to survive, but, once you're on your way...
It is efficient at traveling distance. I mean, I'm working it out in my head, and guys, he's not wrong entirely. Anyways, no, it's like, whatever we find out, I'm not against it anyway. As Mersh said it, I think at the end of season 1, the only way we can fix it is if you give us money for this project right here that goes towards our companies that we like, that we'll give your money to, and it's all a crock of shit. But that's why I'm going to try to figure out how to quit paying taxes before I die. All right. So, I'm putting my arm down a rabbit hole and I'm finding a gopher turtle in there and I'm pulling it out from earlier. I know none of that
Would it
made
be a gopher turtle hole then? Or tortoise?
Nope, it's a rabbit hole that a gopher turtle found its way into. Thank you. It's my analogy. I'll say it how I want. Now, Pfizer commercials. That's where we were at earlier. All right. They are getting ballsy with this shit. First of all, let's take a moment to appreciate the silver lining of of everything that happened the past 3 years with that company and a lot of the other crap. It was the most expensive propaganda campaign in history, in world history, as far as we know. The amount of money and resources that were spent to get out a government-directed message that was both put out by the government and the corporations that are supported by the government. And without passing any restrictions on people or anything like that, I think they only got like 30% of the country to actually get the vaccine willingly. Then they came out with the vaccine restrictions where it's like you have to have this in order to do anything in New York City or drive for Coca-Cola or, stuff. The big corporations were demanding their people do that. And even at that point, I think they only got it up to like 60 or 70% of the country. You think about it, that's at the point in order to get 60 to 70% of the country vaccinated, they had to threaten them with taking away their food and their means of life. Like practically putting a gun to their head and going, do this or else. And they still only got that many people to do it. So like right there, that's a big white pill, and more people have been woken up since then, unlike anything else. There's more people that are skeptical of the narrative from all sides, and that's very enjoyable. Now, considering what I just said, and I've kind of said similar things to that in past episodes, I'm still seeing Pfizer make commercials where it's like, to trust the corporation that follows the science. I'm like, you're still saying follow the science? Like I saw that on a Twitter blurb I follow them on Twitter just for shits and giggles and for hate watching. But I'm like, what is the science at this point? Yes, we admit there's still a coronavirus going around. That's COVID-59 or whatever it is.
I think the ultimate gaffe in beating the science is that all the unvaccinated are still alive.
Oh, and dude, I'll tell you, I've tried to, during this pandemic, there's been a lot of conspiracy theories, and that range from maybe public officials are getting money from private entities to influence their decisions to, oh my God, the fill in the blank are controlling the whole world and making all this happen.
I do wish I would have bought some Pfizer stock.
Oh man, you'd be sitting pretty right now, especially with no fault going to them. Sell it in 50 years, then you'll be good. But I tried to stay as close as I could with most of my conspiracy theories. I started out just entertaining them and not believing them at all until just more and more evidence begins presenting itself. And that will sway my opinion. Maybe not all the way, but it'll a lot of the time bring me from not believing it at all to maybe it happened. That's where a lot of my conspiracy theories end up. One of them that I thought was a little too hot to trot at first. I was like, there's too many people just blindly saying this. And I'm seeing a little bit of it, but I don't know about enough to really solidify my opinion. And that was the side effects of the vaccine. And whole lot of stuff I heard when it was first coming out. I'm like, I don't know about that. I think it might not do as much as they're saying it does. I don't think that is as helpful as they're making it out to be. But I don't think it's ruining people or anything like that. Then, at first, slowly, I see Jimmy Dore, a leftist that got the vaccine, who is openly on the Joe Rogan podcast going like, ever since I got it, my neck hurts and it won't stop hurting. And it was supposed to be a temporary thing. It's going on. You're seeing more and more people. Then, like, anecdotally, people in my personal life, hearing about the countless amount of women that their menstruation, their periods got weird. I don't know how to technically say it right, but all of them start miscycling and stuff like that.
Justin Bieber's face is messed up.
Oh, dude, that's what I'm getting to. Then you start hearing about damn soccer players dropping dead left and
Pro football players, college players.
Drop all of them.
There's like what now? SAD, sudden adult.
And like,
syndrome.
Don't get me wrong, like they're seeing memes of it, and I've been tricked by memes in the past. I've seen a meme that kind of went with my side of what I think, and I was like, oh, of course, well that verifies that I was right. Then, like 2 months later, find out I was wronger than shit. However, I remember what really sold me on the athletes having heart attacks was an Australian news program I watched on Twitter, and it was like 4 former soccer players, like, you know, that now commentate on it. And one of them, I don't think he knew you weren't supposed to talk about it. Like, he just seemed real politically unaware. And he's like, and what do you bloody think about, like, Conrad Jacobs and, like, names 8 people just dying all of a sudden? Bloody weird, isn't it, mate? That's my best Australian, I'm sorry. But
it's like a little heavy British in there with it, but...
I'm sorry. The British colony, whatever. No, I'm like, oh, so this is happening and they are noticing it. Yeah, a lot of adults dropping dead and, like he said, sudden adult death syndrome or whatever.
Because that's apparently a thing now.
And, dude, I saw it on Dave Smith's Part of the Problem. They showed this actress, I cannot remember her name. And at first, I'm like, why are they even showing this lady? And she's like all teary-eyed, and she's like, I'm a Hollywood actress, I've been in this movie and that movie, and she got what Justin Bieber got. Half her face is paralyzed. And she goes, but I'm happy I did this because this is the price I would gladly pay to keep us all safe. And this happened to her like 2 weeks ago. This ain't like a year ago, or I'm like, how entrenched has this gotten into some people's heads?
It's a disease.
Like, dude, it is a form of, like, that is a form of madness. But, back to my point of what I was saying, like, all of this evidence that has come out, and now I think they're trying to play the same game they've always played, which is, if we don't bring it up and don't talk about it, eventually you American people will forget about it. And that's literally what they've done for like 100 years. Just the media will stop talking about it, and thus nothing happens. For example, look at anything from Waco to the Vietnam War starting over false reports to just go down the damn list of no one being held accountable for anything. And, yeah, they're still doing it. But the good news is, and I don't know what this is going to lead to, but so far it's some interesting shit. At the very least, we're aware of it. Oh, many more people are aware of it. And in this hurricane devastated region that, you know...
Didn't Biden say at one point for hurricane prep you had to get the vaccine because it kept you safe from the hurricanes? I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that's an audio clip we can find or we can put on the Twitter. There's at some point he was talking about hurricane preparedness. You need to get the vaccine. Like a year or two ago, because I saw the clip.
I really want to meet Biden's handler. I want to meet the guy that has to look this 1,000-year-old being in the eyes every morning and with all the faith he can muster go, you're going to walk out on that stage from right to left to the wooden podium, and you're going to look at the camera, and you're going to say the words on the camera.
I picture like a guy like in a boxing arena, you know, like when the boxer's about like dazed and out confused, he like throws his little like stool down and he's like, all right, you're the champ, you're going to get out there.
You see it more old school, I see it more like Wolf of Wall Street. Like, this is a guy, in order to function, he has to wake up and take 6 different kinds of drugs. Not Biden, his handler. And he's like, oh God, all right, let me start tripping so I can tell this old man that's the head of our nation what to do today. Because... oh, dude, it's...
I just think it's his wife.
No, I don't even think... I really think most politicians.
I watched
at
her
that-
push him off the stage.
True, but dude, I think them and their wives at that stage, with the exception of someone like Hillary Clinton, are just dumb opportunists that are like, I will go, you pay me to go say whatever you want me to say, and I will get the money and I will go home at the end of the day. I could care less if I'm promoting the Green New Deal or if I'm promoting bombing Syria. If you pay me, I will say this thing, and I have no alliance. That's all. Like, whenever I'd hear, like, people say, like, you know, that Barack Obama's a socialist. He wants to do da-da-da. Now, from, like, a libertarian or anarchist point of view, yeah, I get it. Everyone's a socialist. But from, like, an actual political point of view, I'm like, no, he's just an opportunist. He's just making money to say that dumb shit. Same with George W. Bush, talking about how he's some rootin' tootin' cowboy going to go get him some Muslims in the Middle East. Like, it's all... Yeah, he was just saying what the defense contractors were paying him to say. Side note, real side note, this is something I learned like 2 weeks ago. You know how Donald Rumsfeld got his start?
No.
He got the sugar substitute, Splenda and Sweet and Low, passed by the FDA after it failed multiple tests by the lobbying agency that hired him.
Because it puts the holes in your brain?
Yeah. And then he went on to go from lobbying medical products to helping direct a war in Iraq.
Splendid.
Because that is how government works. So, we're kind of all over the walls tonight, people. We're tired, and I got to get up at 5:30 and chase cattle south of 72.
But we're alive.
We are alive. We're going to keep recording. We can make it across the river and bring y'all more Bandit Radio Hour. People, thank y'all for joining us. We'll catch y'all next time. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Bandit Radio Hour, on Instagram, on Facebook. Google search or Brave search the son of a bitch. You'll be able to find us one way or the other. And y'all take it easy out there and be safe.